So it's Guido here from the Gold Trainers True Potential Podcast. Turbulent times, and today we have no one else than Functional Harbert, aka the Flowing Dutchman.
What's up?
Welcome, man. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, so we were just talking about it 4 years ago at a grounding camp of the Mr. E, Elliot in Amsterdam, and man, you transformed yourself. Like you were working in like some bar kind of job back then, and I remember I had a conversation with you, and I thought like this guy is all about fitness, and I was doing something with fitness, and now you're like, yeah, tell yourself what is the Flowing Dutchman?
The Flowing Dutchman, yes. The Flowing Dutchman is something that kind of came along my journey. So it all started maybe five to 5.5 years ago. So when I came to Elliot Halls, it was already, my evolution was already on its way, but I was kind of, it was only more on YouTube and in my head, so on audiobooks. It wasn't, in reality, nothing really had changed. So the Flowing Dutchman came along as I flow. So I do a lot of flow in my training with a Mace, which is like a big club. And I travel a lot, and I take my Mace all the time when I travel. So I make videos in like exotic locations. So that's kind of how the name, the Flying Dutchman, the Flowing Dutchman, came along. So, and everybody it clicked like, oh yeah, it's the Flowing Dutchman. and since I'm quite internationally oriented, it makes a lot of sense for people because they know the Flying Dutchman. Nobody really knows what it is, but everybody knows the term. So it just it sticks.
Yeah, exactly, man. Yeah, it's a good brand. I like it. Love the name, man. Like, and you're. I remember that story from you at the Taj Mahal. Yeah, that you said like, "Hey, man, I'm now in India at the Taj Mahal. How can I make use of this situation?" Right?
Yeah.
How did they go?
So that was my second time in India. I was staying close to the Taj Mahal. I have a motorcycle in India, so um, I'm not really into the touristic spots. So I just go around them with my own bike because I can go anywhere where I want. Um, and I was determined to get a shot with the Taj Mahal and my Mace, the Taj Mahal in the background. But it's forbidden to film like anything inside the Taj Mahal, or you can film, but nothing like production-wise. So you cannot take equipment in the actual building. But the Taj Mahal is fully covered, so it's very difficult to see the Taj Mahal. So the only place to see it is either inside of the Taj Mahal or from the backside, and there's a river, and from that river you can see the Taj Mahal. So I figured if I just drive all the way around, I probably will get a shot. But it wasn't that easy because there was like a public space where you could take pictures, but they wouldn't allow me to go there with my Mace. So I was like, fuck. So I was running, so I just drove back like 2 minutes and then straight away in the bushes because there was some sort of a beach outside. And then I walked all the way there, and there was a police officer, and he said, no further, no filming. And then I called my own police officer that I knew in India, who said, yeah, you can call me anytime you have trouble. And I put him on the phone, like, can you arrange me that I can take a short video? And well, no, it wasn't allowed. So I had to go back again, and then I was on a property of some farmer or anything, and he had like this place where tourists came, but then there was a gate, and you could crawl under the gate, which they, I think, eventually saw. But I just crawled under the gate, took my Mace and my camera, and set it up, and then two boys came after me and tried to get me back, and I paid them some money, and I shot the video. So I actually bribed two Indian boys to make a video. So it's
Yeah. Amazing.
I can be that
So
determined, you know.
yeah, I love that story, man. Like one day you should really like make a short clip of that or something. How that happened. And
Yeah, it would be funny.
so flowing Dutchman, like what are some benefits of yeah being in the flow, training in the flow? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so flow is it's almost a different definition of focus. So there's just mindfulness. There's so much present attention that you forget everything around you. Um, so if you dial that to a flow state within training, it's also that immense focus. So you're not counting your reps. You're not like, okay, I do one, I'm almost done, and then I can do the next set. It's you're creating, and in that creation, you become the creation. So you're actually like creating a well, you're creating something and you're so aware of that creation that nothing else exists in that moment. So, and for me, the Mace is like very, you can flow with anything. You can flow with a garbage truck, which is just a kind of a little bit strange. But the Mace is, the Mace is very, uh, uh, very good for flowing as a training way because there's so many options of using it. So there are so many different exercises you can do with it. You can use the momentum different. So there's continuous momentum because the weight is on one side and the other side is weightless. So you can imagine that whenever you drop it, there's momentum. So you can play with that, and the way you can create so many exercises that it's almost like a chess game where you kind of have to think 2 steps ahead, and you have to be aware of where
Yeah,
that thing is twirling around you. So you have to be 100% aware, otherwise you might hit yourself. And the better you become, the more at training with the Mace, the the more difficult the exercises become. So the more complex the game becomes. And
yeah. Mace is
then
like
it's
this hammer that you use always, right? I mean, some people might know, but a mace
oh
is
yeah.
not like a very common term,
Oh no no.
right?
They also call it like a mace bell or like a steel mace, and it comes from the Indian an old Indian tradition where they put like a bamboo stick into a pot of concrete, and then they swing that pot of concrete around, holding the bamboo stick. But this
Yeah,
is like so they made a modern version of it, which is like a hollow metal bar, and then at the end of it, there's like this fixed weight, so like a round globe, like a kettlebell, but then with an extended handle.
yeah.
And if you drop it on one side, it will come up on the other side if you let it. So it's
It's
like
kind of
this.
like a hammer, right? Could you say that?
It's like a sledgehammer, but then with a round end of it to it.
Yeah. I mean, you
Yeah.
must have heard that before, that Harbert's the Thor of the Netherlands.
Yeah. I do kind of have a Viking image.
Yeah, exactly. So I can totally imagine that you heard before, like, did you play in a movie or some things like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. I did actually play as an extra, as a fighting extra in a Viking movie. So it happened.
Which movie was that? Is it a common movie? No?
Red Bud.
Ah, okay, I don't know it.
It's like a Dutch movie.
Yeah. So, but this concept, you're thinking 2 steps ahead. At the same time, you're very focused on the present moment,
Hmm.
right? And that's what that thinking doesn't really need to take energy or need attention. It's more like that the flow helps you to do that, or how does it work?
Well, it's not that flow wouldn't be a thought in itself. It's just very specific. Oh, it could be thinking. If that was the only thing you're actually doing about the movement, it would still be uh, in flow. Like it wouldn't be. Some people think like focus that's why I like the concept of focus, because it you're narrowed down on one thing, and that one thing becomes the thing, just like mindfulness is not, there's nothing, just like you touch an orange. That's the basic exercise they start with mindfulness, is you become so aware of that orange that you forget everything else, and that orange becomes something very special. So whenever you do that with an equipment or a movement, you can create the same effect. Make sense?
Yeah, I mean,
so you do
it makes total sense. It's like fascinating. You become so fascinated with the object and with the moment that you are holding it, that the movement is sort of like an extension of you. Is it,
yes.
like,
yes.
right? Like
So,
you
like
and the
your
base
arm
are
is
becoming
like
one. Yeah, an extension of your arm.
Because
One second. So talking about flow, there we are again. Suddenly a whole different environment. Whoa, man, how did you do that? Yeah, we were talking about flow, and the flow brought you home.
It did. We were so in the flow of the conversation that the internet was like, whoa, and it brought me back home.
Yeah, flowing somewhere else.
Yeah.
So let's say like you would now give people during these times, because I notice like you have a very relaxed vibe, at the same time you're kind of like a go-getter. I see you online pushing out content quite some time already. And what would be like 3 to 5 tips of the flowing Dutchman for people to go through these times?
The times of Corona.
Yeah, or turbulent times.
Turbulent times. Yeah. So my it's been always or not always, but at least for 5 or 6 years, I'm trying to find uncomfortable situations, and trying to every time I become too comfortable, it's kind of like an alarm goes off, like, oh, I'm too comfortable. So this doesn't really shock me. Like my life is kind of always involved in something new for a long time. So my advice would be first to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. So, and if you're not used to being uncomfortable in your situation, first comes the release, the let go. So take it in, explore the new situation. Remember that no situation is ever fixed. The only thing that's constant is change. And once you've accepted that, it is your task to respond instead of react. So responding is a way of first letting information and things come to you, then giving it a space, and then thinking about it, and then responding. Reacting would be a lot of fear-based things. So something happens and it's like, oh, yeah. Whoa, huh. There's like an automatic unconscious response to it. And for me, the ideal would be, or at least what I feel like helps me a lot is I tend to take those things and changes in me, even meditate on them, and then let them progress through my head so I can give a proper response. And then a third thing that's important in these times is that the virus is kind of goes to people that don't really take care of themselves that much. So people who smoke, people who have bad diet, people that are that have too much weight.
Virus, huh?
Yeah, or that their immune system basically is weak. So what can you do about it? Make your immune system stronger. So why focus on all the deaths and focus on all the sick people? Try to focus on building a healthy body and being, resistant to something like that from the outside. So your body is capable of conquering it. So getting some sun is very important. Fresh air, a good diet. So think about your immune system. healthy food, organic food, clean water. Those things are very important. And movement is so important. If you now get stuck on the couch and be a responsible adult, like they try to meme it at this point, you're still not responsible if you're just sitting on your couch all day long and thinking now it's okay. Because eventually at the end of the day, you will feel like, no, I didn't do that much today, so it's not really a good day. So you give yourself a hard punch anyway.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. Love it, man. And that part of reacting to instead of responding, instead of reacting comes more without really processing it and having almost like an auto response.
Mm-hmm.
And responding really means that you take it in and consciously make a decision about what you're going to do, right?
Yep.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks for those tips, man. I think that will help people already. If they can only implement one of the three, that would already be a big step forward.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't get to the 5.
No, 3 to 4 to 5. It's not always the number that counts. I like to say, I use the quote of Einstein. Like not everything that counts can be counted. So.
Yeah, well, number is very selective, because you can take diet and take 5 things out of the diet and just say that, right? So the more general you take it, the less numbers you have.
Agree. So functional heartbeats developed, and when was the point for you that you really realized, like, whoa, this is really something that I could do full time?
Well, I realized earlier on that it's definitely possible to do it full time, but it wasn't in my ability to make that yet. It's always when you have something that is your passion, well, they say that it's your passion or something you're very passionate about. It's not so easy, the monetizing thing. So that would make it a full-time job, is you also be able to monetize it appropriately is something separate. So you have to learn that too. So it doesn't come like, oh, I'm good at something, now I also make money of it. Like,
no.
Those two are different.
Yeah,
so it's taken me some time, but I've been watching people, watching other people that do the same thing but are just a step further, and that's my main. Just watching what they're seeing, what they're doing, and then also projecting my mind to that I'm also going to do that in the future, even though it's very scary at this moment. I kind of prepare myself that I will be doing that, and that's what I'm basically doing. So more and more things are coming around that 1 or 2 years ago I wasn't, or I was preparing myself for, and now it's a full-time thing. So I would say that like 4 or 5 months ago it became, since like 5 months ago I didn't do anything else than what I'm doing right now. So now it's like a full-time thing.
Nice.
So
Beautiful.
Yeah. So before
let's say, sorry?
No, before that I still worked as a freelancer in like a bartender, barista, to pay for my trips.
Yeah, exactly. And now it's in 4 or 5 months. Yeah, this is a very interesting question, especially for young startups. Definitely also like you are in this journey of personal or development, like already for like over 5 years. Let's say you would now have a conversation with Harbert from 5 years ago. You would sit with him or have a video call like this. What could be really something that you would like to tell that Harbert 5 years ago would really be beneficial to hear back then?
Yeah, my first response would probably not too much because I wouldn't have been able to figure out where I'm now back then. Um, so I wouldn't change. No, I wouldn't really change it. Maybe have more faith, like to put a little faith of it. It will be all right, you know. Don't worry so much. Maybe 5 years ago, I was like, how am I ever gonna make money? Something about somewhere, and now I'm here, and I'm like, oh yeah, you can do it, you know. So I would probably give that younger man a little bit of faith and hope, maybe. Well, hope.
Yeah.
You know, it's gonna be all right. You can do it, and go on. You're on the right path.
Yeah. Come on, guy.
Yeah.
You're doing well, son.
Yeah. Well, I did this exercise before where you had to imagine like you're 6 year old. It was very intense, and the main thing I realized is that all the the stressors that you have, you know, as a young kid, but also when you grow older, um, all those stressors, like they keep you from enjoying the moment where it is, like the steps where you're at that point, because uh, they keep projecting you to a place where you want to be, but it's then difficult to accept where you are now. And you know, you'll eventually become that point where you want to be, but it's also the point that whenever you come there, you can still enjoy it. And if you cannot do that from the first, then you probably won't be able to do it when you finally reach your top job or the life you want.
Yeah, the ultimate ladder has no end, right? Like the job title ladder or the career.
No, eventually you'll fall off. Everybody falls off their own ladder, but and that's the end. There's no like, oh, from here it suddenly is straight.
So what are like the main things that you're now doing in a day then to get like Flowing Dutchman further as an organization or as a brand? Like how do you do that?
So at this, I traveled for 3 months. So what I did, well, at least I prepared for those travels, and then I'm still basically doing what I did when I was traveling. Only then, when you're traveling, you go to new places all the time, and I'm filming stuff and creating documentaries for YouTube and Instagram, documenting my travels, writing about it. And what I'm doing now I'm back is that, and also I'm managing my online courses. So I developed a few online courses for the Mace, and I put them on my website. So I'm managing my website and managing, you know, trying to learn new things, as in marketing wise, how to reach new people, how to get my products out there. And I'm still heavily, you know, into making videos and editing them and putting them out there for the world to see.
Yeah.
And I take good care of myself, as in food wise, and I try to have enough rest whereas possible. But at the same time, I'm still, you know, I'm if you would count it in hours, I would work quite a lot, even though it doesn't feel like it. But
no. There's like this hunger or a restlessness that you have, like, okay, let's continue.
Yeah, there's like, yeah, if I wouldn't post something for 2 days, something would probably be like, oh, you really have to do something now.
Yeah. That's interesting, man. Interesting. Like it's also like you feel the good responses, and would you also say, because I imagine you need a Mace for your program, right? Or do you also have a program without Mace?
No, you need a Mace.
Yeah. And do you sell them also?
No, I might. I have a wooden one. You can see in the back hanging there.
Yeah.
Kaboom!
Bang.
And that one is a unique one. So we let a woodcutter made it, and there were so many people responding to my videos of it that I'm probably going to take a limited amount of sell for it. But that is a wooden mace. A wooden mace is a little lighter than a steel mace, but it's makes it more easy to practice certain moves, and it's also a very gentle material. So it's kind of,
Yeah.
it has a different feel to it than steel.
I would imagine that a person just starting out, especially older men, women, could very benefit a lot from doing it with a wooden mace.
Yes.
Also, you would hurt yourself less if it goes wrong, and you have a whole different audience that you could speak to and really take in, because, I mean, to me, the steel mace feels really like something on itself. And the wooden mace is like, hey, look, you have to begin somewhere, and the steel mace is like the next step.
Yeah, well, you could say that, but then that is after you've touched the real mace, because most people think, like, if they buy a mace, they buy like, oh, how many kilos are they? 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Let's buy a 10 because I'm quite strong. I go to the gym, and then they get a 10 kilograms, and they're like humbled as fuck because they cannot do anything with it. So you actually need a 4 kilogram or 6 kilogram mace to start off with.
Yeah, because the weight is not so like a normal
no,
dumbbell, right?
no. But people, like, when they order, it says 4 kilograms, and I'm like, yeah, no, I don't need 4 kilograms. I can handle a bigger weight.
Yeah, exactly. The ego plays up, and that's
the ego
interesting
plays
to
up.
observe.
Yes. So I think a wooden mace would be beneficial for everyone. And in my with my clients, I've also experienced that because the weight is less, you have to kind of let go more, because every obstruction in your movement, so whenever you have like a shocking wave in your joint, or you don't time the move correctly, you will feel it much more than with the steel one, because the steel one will go through anyway. You kind of pull it through, and with this one, you kind of have to let go to make the swing beautiful, and you will feel it. It gives you that feedback directly. So it's very cool. But I don't sell them yet, and I'm not going to sell steel maces, because there's not really a margin on it, and there are many big companies that get them from China, so they're not so expensive, like 35 euro to like 40, yeah, for a light one.
Yeah.
So
Now I'm seeing something that you have like the Viking sign. You're having a Viking autograph branded in it or something, like people are like, okay, but I have a steel mace that is signed by the flowing Dutchman with his bare hands.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly the plan. So you have a good mind.
Hey man, that means like we're sort of in sync.
Yeah, great minds think alike, or small minds think alike too. Like, I'm not sure where we are.
Yeah, exactly, man. Whatever minds.
Yes,
whatever.
Exactly. We think alike.
Yes. Hey, it's super fascinating, man. And what I'm also interested in, because we went to this grounding camp 2016, and how do you look back on going there and your development after? Maybe you want to tell a little bit about how your experience was, because not everybody knows grounding camping.
So grounding camp is something, it's like a product of Elliot Halls, and me and Guido were very into Elliot Halls, especially at that time, watching his videos and reading his books, and Elliot was inspired by Osho. He had like dynamic meditations, which were based on biodynamics. And biodynamics is a way of expressing yourself through movement and physical exertion to express what's inside of you. So you kind of have to, and to do that very expressively, and then for a long time, you'll eventually come to a point where you're not thinking anymore, but your unconscious is like blabbering out things that are stuck in your body.
Yeah.
So that event did teach me something, because it was the first time I actually went full out on that, because I had tried some things, you know, for myself, like 1 minute in my home, but you can never really shout at in your own home. So
Different, eh?
yeah, it's different. So and then a whole day of that. After, I remember I had to go working after the event, like a full night as a bartender, and I never felt so strange. Like my voice was gone, but I was just like I was floating. Like I was so light. Everything that was stuck, that pulled me down, kind of was out of my body and my system. So I took that away from it, and as a I don't really do it regularly, biomechanics, but I do have a tendency that whenever I feel too stuck, that I kind of just shake it out, and yeah, just
Let everything go.
yeah,
Like this. Yeah. Exactly, man. Yeah, but it feels good.
it
It's
feels good.
release.
It's it's a physical, yeah, it's a release. It's like the dogs. I always find that example very good, that whenever a dog fights, so two dogs like and they go fighting, and after the fight they walk back and they do like, and then they just so everything that had happened is gone.
Yeah.
So, and I'm like I tend to take things in and build on it. So no, I keep things inside instead of expressing it. I take it inside and I don't really express it. So for me, it's just a great way of, you know, letting everything out. But as I tend to mature a little bit, I feel like I am more expressing myself, so I need it less.
Yeah.
So I think it's definitely a remedy for if you're very stuck, but it's not, you know, it's not for everyone.
No, exactly. And what I heard back is that like at that moment it was helping you to deepen that experience of like, whoa, you can do it in your home, but a whole
Mm.
day of this is like a whole different level,
Yeah.
right? Like with meditation, if someone never meditated for, let's say, half an hour, it's also not maybe the best advice to say like, okay, Luke, we're gonna go for this whole week on this 10 hours a day vipassana, for example.
Mm.
Like that would be maybe over the top.
Yeah. Well.
And yeah, I'm imagining like you there, you were, it was on the right time, the right event.
Mm. Yes, it was. It was. Well, I was looking for it as well. Like when I heard like it was coming, I was like, "Fuck yeah!" Ah. And I also remember that you told me something like, I still remember that you said to me that I, that you kind of saw an Elliot in me. I remember you saying something like that,
Yeah.
and
You
every
know what
time.
I?
Hmm?
Yeah. Tell me.
And that kind of kept with me, like, yeah, I am, you know, I'm looking for these guys, but it also means like they're a crystal ball, so I'm also moving in that direction, even though I don't feel like it yet. They feel so much further away from me. um, so I did remember that. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up because I remember, and what I also meant with it was that because like everybody's there for a different reason, right? Like
Mm,
and then all together there are similarities, but you have your own let's say personal achievements to come there. And you think
mm,
like, hey, I will get stronger out of this. I will release something. I will,
mm,
you know, for me, for example, it was just like I read this book King, and I was like, how is this guy in the real world? I saw him on YouTube videos in 2009, 10, and
mm,
how can I can I expect something from this? And I didn't know. I thought, let's just go.
mm.
And when I spoke with you, you had also quite like clarity in you just were there. And then I was actually surprised you were working in a bar. I was like, I just saw myself. Um, as someone that was interviewing different people there, like,
Mm.
hey, why are you here? Why are you here? And I thought like you already did something for yourself. You had made the impression on me that you were doing something already for yourself, and at the same time you were working at the bars. I thought like this guy is ready and has the embodiment to lead others to a better physique, to a better state of well-being, and that's what I felt back then, man. And that's why it's so funny for me and so inspiring to see that you're now doing this journey and being this flowing Dutchman. And I think like you really is on the path of self-realization. And yeah, man, thanks for bringing that up.
Thank you. You have a good way of feeling that.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it, Harbert. There are a lot of other subjects. At the same time, I feel that this is exactly the moment to say, okay, let's do another conversation, 3 months or something, and we're gonna see how the Flowing Dutchman flow through turbulent times. When the new world is starting, has started. Like, where are we then? Shall we do that?
We're gonna do that.
Thanks,
cool.
Man. Hey, thanks for being here. And
Thank you for inviting me.
Keep in touch. Yeah, for sure, man. And yeah, it's inspiring. Where can people best find you?
So my website is www.functionalharbeats, which is HARBEATS.com, and they also can find me at The Flowing Dutchman on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. On Facebook, I'm still Functional Heartbeats. So, and you can find online products on my website as well as courses.
Yes, to get more in the flow.
Yeah, let's flow together, man.
Yeah, let's do it, man. Hey, cool. Thanks so much for being here, and we'll speak in the future.
Let's do it. Thank you, Guido.
Ciao, man.